committed couples, if you look at the research, are key to healthy children from generation to generation. And one of the things that happens is that if you have an unhealthy parent situation, unhealthy family, it doesn't end there. The biblical issue of from generation to generation is now being shown in many, many research studies. Adverse childhood events, a recent research study out in California, a demographic research study put on by a large healthcare insurance firm, because they're interested in reducing their costs, right? They wanted to find out why so many people who were in their weight reduction program, because being overweight is highly correlated to many diseases. So what they found out was that the people who were the most successful in losing weight dropped out of the program. Okay? Well, why would they do that? Why, if you go to a program to lose weight and you're losing weight, would you quit? So they dug a little deeper into the data, and they happened to have a lot of other data about these people on their family situation. And what they found was that there's an extremely high correlation with adverse childhood events and adult diseases, because they have all of the medical records of these people in California. And this was a shock to them because they had no idea. They weren't looking for this. It jumped out of the data for them. And there was a stair-step progression between adverse childhood events, like the loss of a parent through death, divorce, alcohol or drugs, prison time, etc. If you had one of those, it was maybe a correlation of a small percentage, 2, 3, 4, 5, stair step, exact progression. So the guy said, wow, look at that. The issue here is adverse childhood events and later on problems like gaining weight, becoming obese, because it's a protective issue for that person. As one woman said, she was abused when she was a child, and being overweight was the perfect defense for her. She would not become attractive to anybody. So the outside symptom is different from the inside trauma. Therefore, having committed healthy parents and healthy families is very, very important. There's also a direct correlation between committed couples, healthy couples staying together, whether you call it marriage or something else, and financial history of the children, of the couple and of the children for generation to generation. If you want to be happy for the rest of your life, you know, remember the old song, make somebody a wife that's going to stick with you, because that's so important for your health, her health, and for the children's health financially as well as physically. And of course, those people then who come to churches and your schools and your communities and everything else, if they're coming from highly dysfunctional families, what do you have when you get there? Just a whole bunch of dysfunctional people. As one pastor from a charismatic church that had a lot of healing ministry said, why do I have so many broken people? I said, well, you've got a big flashing sign over your door that says free emergency care and counsel, and they're all coming. They all show up. As Steve Sjogren said when he first started the Vineyard, and he came to me and asked me to help him set up a pastoral care counseling program, and had that little motto, come as you are, you'll be loved. And I said, what happened, Steve? He said, they all showed up. I said, yeah, you got an emergency room that's wide open, says free medical help. Come on, come y'all. But there's no doctors, no nurses, no support system. Now, I've had a heart attack. I went to the hospital. Thank God they had a nurse there. They had a doctor there. They knew what to do, kept me from dying. Now, if the church is promising this stuff, it better have somebody on the inside who knows how to treat people, or the churches, the schools just multiply dysfunction. Now, do you want to multiply dysfunction or function? Do you want more health or less health? This is one of the reasons that the government now is extremely concerned, because 38% or something like that of every baby born in America now is born to a single mother and is immediately on welfare. Now just project that out for the next 80 years. You think we got a problem with older folks, we got a huge, worse problem with babies. So this is why the government is putting out these grants now. We got to do something. Now people may think, hey, this is all going to be okay. I don't need to be committed. I don't need to work through my problems. But for our churches, our communities, our schools, our government, our economic status, it is a crisis. Claremont County and some of the communities in Hamilton's, a lot larger Hamilton County is, are extremely at the edge of this, and the divorce rates and single-parent families. They did research at school children in one of the communities in Hamilton County, and they asked the children how many of them came from an intact family with two parents. 3% of the children did in one of the communities. My brothers, sisters, we got a problem in River City. And so we need to do something about it. So there's a correlation between non-intact families, single-parent families, and crime, in poverty, in abuse, in illness. It all goes together in that loss. I've read a book recently by a woman named Ruby Payne on poverty. I'd recommend, if you all are interested in doing things in your congregations to help people, it's an excellent book. Ruby Payne, P-A-Y-N-E. What she does, she says, if you look at the critical resources people need to be healthy, here's what they are. They're financial resources, emotional, mental, spiritual, physical, having healthy support systems in your family, extended family, but your school and church too. Relationships and role models. You need somebody that you can look at and say, this is what we need to be doing. Otherwise, how are they going to know how to save and not spend all your money every paycheck? And the hidden rules of a community. Now, hidden rules are, how do you make it if you want to succeed in America? People from poverty-stricken backgrounds don't know those rules. Where are they going to learn the rules? Well, we can't depend on a lot, but the schools are just overwhelmed. I mean, the community agencies are overwhelmed with troubled people. And if the church doesn't enter into that, I'm not sure it's really going to happen. Look at these correlations. Kids under 6 in poverty. Extreme poverty at the lowest level. 2%, only 2% of the children under 6 live with married parents. 28% live with single mothers. Now, you might not be able to communicate and convince people on a basis of the Bible or religion that marriage is important. But sometimes for people to say, what's in it for me? If they know that it's poverty, or for their children for generations and their grandchildren and great-grandchildren, most people love their kids. They don't want their kids to go through this. But they don't see this. Have you seen this data before? This is not normally known. Just poverty level, 9% live with married parents, 49% live with a single parent, single mother, because the fathers are gone. Near poverty, 14% with married parents, 59% with a single mother. A stair-step progression, a correlation between single parenthood and poverty. Now let's look at single education and poverty. This is all races. And when you look at African American, Hispanic, white, it teases out differently, but let's just summarize all of it. All educational levels, 30% below poverty. No high school diploma, 56% poverty. High school diploma, 33% poverty. Bachelor's or more, 10%. You want to go to poverty, you want to go to the school of hard knocks? Have kids out of wedlock and don't get an education. It's almost guaranteed. Now let's look at this with the couples. all educational levels in poverty, if you're married, is only 6%. Look at that. No high school diploma, 20%. High school diploma, 10%. Bachelor's or more, 2%. Now compare those. With the singles, all education levels for married is only 6%. It's 30% if you're not married. A 5-fold increase. Do you see the power of marriage? 20% married if you have no high school diploma, and that's high. You know, a high school diploma is important if you're married, but look what it is, 56% if you're single. High school diploma, 10% versus 33%. Bachelor's, only 2% of married couples with bachelor's degrees are in poverty. But 10% of single parents. Even if you got a college education, you go up 5 times in terms of poverty. Now, one of the things that happens in many middle-class religious families is they know this. Intuitively, they may never have seen the statistics, but they know it. Because they learn that by being around other people who talk about saving your money, etc. At Dwelling Place Church and many other churches, every time you take a collection, there's a teaching on the importance of saving, not taking out credit cards, not throwing all your money away. So there's an education going on all the time on the power of commitment, on the power of marriage and family life. So the church has an enormous influence and impact on all these factors in many hidden ways by teaching people the rules of being a successful parent, a successful person. Now, I grew up in abject poverty, but thankfully, I was in a church and a community that encouraged people to do better, to get out of that, to work hard, to save, etc. Now, I didn't understand the importance of compound interest and all of that, but saving was important. And it wasn't long before I learned the power of compound interest, the power of saving, compound interest, to take it out of your pocket if you've got a credit card, or the power of making money work for you. Now, my mother-in-law is 91 years old. We still can't get her to understand money can work for you. She's still got that very low-class, poverty-stricken background. You take your money and you put it under the mattress or someplace. You understand what I'm saying? Poor people have poor ways. My dad summarized the whole thing. Poor people have poor ways. And they can't get out of that cycle of poverty. But again, faith-based organizations have a wonderful opportunity to touch people in a holistic way. Well, of course, Jesus talked more about money in the scripture than about anything else, because that's where your heart is. And we need to help people do this. Now, doors to poverty. If you want people to be poor, if you want people to struggle and be sick, here's how to do it. We know how to do it. And I think sometimes that we preachers and teachers need to say, hey, let me tell you, you want to be sick? You want to be poor the rest of your life? You want to be in crisis the rest of let's show you how to do it. You know, you want to just live together for a little while with different people and try. I mean, you can do that. In America, you can do that. And a lot of people are choosing to do it. But it leads you directly to devastation, emotionally, financially, relationally. And then you get up my age and you got grandkids and kids. I've been married almost 46 years and I've got 2 children, 3 grandchildren. When you see your kids, you see the decisions you made 40 years ago are affecting them. Now, when you're young, you don't think about that, right? It's just right now. But it isn't right now. We're building for the future. And I think that's one of the areas, again, where we can preach and teach the power of looking ahead and having role models from the past. The loss of a parent leads directly, according to the ACE studies, to drugs, poverty, and prison. But now, one of the most important things you have to ask in statistics is why do some people escape that? Because many people do. Not 100% of the people do not end up in poverty. They don't end up with drugs and alcohol and sex and rock and roll. They end up with something else. Almost all of them, when you do research, will go back and say they had a spiritual experience. Spiritual experience that changed their lives. And then they got into a community that helped them get up out of the miry clay and got on a rock to stay. If you don't have that, you know, you're just really in trouble.